Welcome to the True Man Podcast. This is an invitation to radical reconstruction of a man's masculine heart and soul in a place of safe community where we dare to ask questions buried deep inside a man and explore ways to help you become a better man, a better son, a better dad, and a better spouse. Well, I'm your host, Mike Van Pelt, here as usual. Thank you for being here with us. Now, real quick, I need to tell you about something that has been in the making for a long time, and it's finally here. And you've heard me talking about this on September 14th. The American Family Renaissance is releasing the power of asking for help. Now, this is our inaugural American Family Renaissance Men's Summit. It has been recorded. We are setting this up so that you can watch these videos in bite-sized chunks. You don't have to watch them all at once. And listen, this is not your average online event. Boy, you can gain amazing wisdom. We have assembled 8 world-class speakers, including myself, of course, men who have lived these truths, who have built something real, and who have something to say that every man in this audience needs to hear. So you're going to want to pass this along to your buddies too. This lineup includes Scott Schilling, Tom Ziegler, Bob Tiede, Bob Bodine, Vince Miller, and Chris Widener. And yeah, myself, yours truly, right? 8 speakers, one urgent message, one day that could change the direction of your life. And stick around at the end of today's episode because I'm going to introduce you to one more Summit speaker, Jim Britt, a man whose story and whose message I think is going to hit you in a way you won't expect. So sign up for information. The sign up form will be in the show notes. You can also go directly to my website, AmericanFamilyRenaissance.org, and find it out on our summit page as well. But you need to reserve your seat today, and please forward this on to a friend. You will not regret it. It's free. It can be done in a half day if you do it all at once, or you can take your time working your way through it. And it could be the most important day of the year for you. I know it's going to be one of the most important days of the year for me. Now, let's talk about why this summit exists in the first place, because the topic, the power of asking for help, goes right to the core of something that is quietly destroying men. So let me ask you something. When is the last time you stopped and asked for directions? Now, I'm not talking about your Google Maps. You're on there on your mobile phone. I mean, actually pulled over, rolled down a window, and ask another human being, hey, I'm lost. Can you help me find where I'm going? Now, for most men, that question is almost physically uncomfortable to even imagine, isn't it? You ever been there? We would rather drive in the wrong direction for another 20 minutes, circling, backtracking, burning time and fuel than admit to a stranger that we don't know where we are. And before you laugh, because we have all done it, I want you to sit with that image for a second. Because it is not just about directions. It is about a perfect picture of how most men navigate the hardest terrain in their lives. Lost in their marriage, circling the same argument for the 10th year in a row, but not asking for help. Lost in their identity, unsure of who they are, what they're for, whether they're enough, but not asking for help. Lost in their pain, carrying grief, anger, fear, shame, weight that is just bending them in half and telling everyone they're fine. We would rather stay lost than admit we need someone to show us the way. And that right there is one of the most dangerous patterns in the lives of Christian men today. Today, we're going to talk about why, and more importantly, why it has to change. So there's a reason the won't stop for direction thing, quote unquote, has become a cultural joke because it's true. And it's true across generations, across cultures, across, socioeconomic backgrounds. Something in the masculine wiring, or maybe more accurately, something in the masculine conditioning, resists the act of admitting that we don't know something and we need someone else to help us, to tell us. Now, extend that metaphor into every domain of a man's life. A man who would rather assemble the furniture without reading the instructions. I think I know that guy. Doing that for 3 hours, increasingly frustrated, surrounded by leftover screws, then takes 10 minutes to follow the directions designed to make the process work. Has that ever happened to you? That just explained every piece that I ever purchased. How about the man who would rather white knuckle his way through financial pressure, marriage strain, or emotional crisis alone in silence, then pick up the phone and say, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you walk me through this? Here's what that stubbornness cost him. It cost him time. The man who refuses to ask directions adds miles to his journey, and it didn't need to be that long, did it? It cost him energy. He burns through reserves fighting a battle that help could have resolved. It cost him relationships. The people in his life could have walked with him who wanted to, were never given the chance because he never opened the door. And it cost him growth, because the fastest path to becoming who you're supposed to be always runs through someone who has already been there. A mentor, a counselor, a brother, a coach, someone who can see what you can't see from inside your own situation. Now, I think about the men that I've worked with over the years or talked to, the ones who made the most significant breakthroughs, the ones whose marriages were restored, whose fatherhood was transformed, whose faith went from a Sunday morning transaction to a daily living reality. Almost without exception, the turning point was a moment when they stopped performing and started asking. Not asking from weakness, asking from the courage it takes to say, I want more than this, and I can't get there alone. So here's the question I want you to sit with. What area of your life right now are you circling? Lost, frustrated, burning energy because you haven't been willing to ask for help. Name it honestly. Name it, because that's where today's episode is going. So, why do we do it? You got to ask. Why does a man who genuinely wants to grow, who loves his family, who claims to follow a God who said, now listen carefully, ask and it shall be given? Why does that man still refuse to ask? I wish I had the answer to that question, because I've been that guy. And I've sat with enough men to give you an honest answer, I do believe. It's not one thing, it's a wall built from 5 layers. So maybe this will help answer the question. Layer 1, we call this the performance code. From the time most men were boys, they absorb a code, sometimes spoken, more often caught from the men around them, that said, strength means self-sufficiency. A real man handles his own. Asking for help means you weren't strong enough to handle it. See, that code is not biblical. That code is cultural. and it's killing men. Layer 2, the fear of exposure. See, underneath the performance is a deeper fear. If I let you see the real me, the struggling, uncertain, sometimes lost version of me, you'll think less of me. You'll lose respect for me. You'll see that I don't have it all together as I was presenting. So we manage that image, and we do it consistently for so long that we start to lose access to the real version of ourselves. And boy, oh boy, it's terribly exhausting, isn't it? It's just flat out tiring. Layer 3, the shame spiral. Here's what compounds everything. Shame tells a man that his struggle is unique to him, that everyone else is handling what he can't handle, that his need for help is evidence of a deficiency that other men don't have. Shame thrives in silence, and silence is exactly where struggling men spend most of their time. Layer 4, the pride problem. Oh boy. At the root of it all, and I say this with love because I have lived it, is pride. The unwillingness to need. The deep, often unconscious conviction that needing anyone is somehow beneath a man of strength and faith. Well, that conviction is a lie. And it is one of the enemy's most effective tools. Because a man who won't ask for help is a man who cannot be helped. And a man who cannot be helped is a man who cannot fully heal. And a man who cannot fully heal cannot fully lead. Layer 5, nobody showed him. How many of you experienced that? You know, for many men, this is an honest, heartbreaking truth. Doggone. Nobody modeled what it looks like to ask for help with dignity. Their father didn't do it. The men around them didn't do it. So they genuinely don't know how. The act feels foreign because it was never demonstrated. So let me ask you, which of these 5 layers is your wall? Is there just one? Is it more? You already know the answer, the one that hit. That's the one worth examining. So here's what strikes me every time I go back into scripture and check in with things and see how real world circumstances really, where did they derive themselves? What are the stories of the Bible? And so I go back looking through scripture, looking at the men that God used most powerfully. Not one of them, by the way, did it alone. Not one. Not a single one. Moses, chosen to lead 2 million people out of slavery, could not sustain the burden of leadership without help. His father-in-law, Jethro, who's an interesting character to learn about, watched him trying to handle everything himself and said essentially, what you're doing is not good, Moses. You will wear out, both you and these people. And Moses, a man who had spoken face to face with God, took the advice, the wisdom from his father-in-law. He asked, he received, and the mission continued on. David, the greatest king Israel ever produced, surrounded himself with mighty men, 37 warriors named specifically in scripture, not because David was weak, but because David understood that a man and his brothers together accomplish what a man alone never could. Peter, the rock on which the church was built, fell apart the night Jesus was arrested, denied him 3 times, and then wept bitterly. And then, this is the part that matters, he came back. He let Jesus find him on the shore. and he let himself be restored. He asked in the most vulnerable moment of his life to be put back together. And Jesus did not disqualify him for his weakness. He commissioned him out of it. And then there's this, one of the most direct statements in all of Scripture on this very subject. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open to you. Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. Jesus said to ask, not just in prayer, as a posture toward life, toward God, toward the people he placed in your path. The design has always been dependence, not on yourself, on God and on the community that he surrounds you with. The man you see who refuses to ask is not living in strength. Oh no. He's living in disobedience to the design. And here's the most personal question I want to ask you today, not as a challenge, but as a genuine invitation. What would change in your life, in your marriage, in your fatherhood, your faith, or your future if you became a man who asked for help with the same confidence that you bring to everything else? What would be different? Because I've seen the answer to that question play out in real men's lives. And what I've seen is this: everything changes. Not overnight, but everything changes. And if this was a 4-hour podcast, I'd go ahead and tell you my story again. Podcast for another day, probably. But I do want to tell you about a shift that I've watched happen in men. The moment they cross from performance into vulnerability, from hiding into asking. It is one of the most powerful things that I have ever witnessed. The man who finally called a counselor after 3 years of telling himself he didn't need one, and discovered in the first session that he'd been carrying grief from his father's death, and that he'd been slowly strangling his marriage without him even knowing it. The man who showed up in a men's group for the first time, convinced that he had nothing in common with anyone there, and heard another man describe his struggle with such precision that it felt like someone had read his private journal, and something in him cracked wide open, and he was never quite as alone again. The man who called me and said, Mike, I don't know what I'm doing. I love my family, but I'm losing them and I don't know how to stop it. We went to work. And a year later, he told me that phone call was the bravest thing he'd ever done. It always is, man. It always is. You see, asking for help is not the end of a man's strength. It is the beginning of a different kind, a stronger kind. The kind rooted not in self-sufficiency, but in the honest acknowledgement that you were designed for more than you can build alone. That is the incredible power of asking for help. And that is why on September 14th, we are gathering men for a summit built around exactly that idea. 8 speakers, 1 day, 1 mission to call out men out of isolation, out of performance, out of the silence that is costing them everything, and into the honest, courageous, life-changing act of asking. It's free. It's 1 day. In fact, it doesn't need to be 1 day necessarily, because we're going to put these videos out in bite-sized chunks for you to enjoy. And I believe it will be one of the most important. Some of these videos will be some of the most important videos of your lives. So in the show notes, again, we're going to put the summit link for you to register for free. You can also go out to the website, AmericanFamilyRenaissance.org. Now, here's what where I want to land this thing today. You are not too far gone. You are not too proud. You are not too complicated or too broken or too late. Okay. But you are going to have to do one thing that might be the hardest thing that you do this week. You're going to have to ask. Ask God honestly with the, not with the polished prayer, but with a real one. The, I don't know what I'm doing and I need you prayer. Ask a man in your life, one person today, to go deeper than the surface. Not a speech, just a door opener. Ask for help with the thing that you've been white knuckling alone. Because here's the truth. I built my entire life's work on. Real strength begins the moment a man becomes honest enough to ask for help, humble enough to receive it, and courageous enough to let it change him. It's not a weakness. That is the most powerful thing a man can do. So before I let you go today, I promised I'd introduce you to one of our American Family Renaissance Summit speakers. And this one, of course, I'm genuinely excited about. Jim Britt. Jim Britt's story does not start where you'd expect. He was born into poverty, grew up picking cotton, took a factory job just to survive. And by the age 29, through a radical decision to stop doing life alone and start asking the right questions of the right people, he had reached financial independence. So what happened after that is simply remarkable. Jim Britt is intentionally recognized in the field of peak performance and personal empowerment training. He is the co-author of 13 best-selling books, might be up to 20 now, actually, including the Cracking the Rich Code series, which I was a part of. That was book number 11, where the power of asking for help came out. He's written Rings of Truth and the Power of Letting Go, and has shared his message with over 1 million people across thousands of audiences. He has served as a success counselor to over 300 corporations. He was named one of the world's top 20 success coaches and received the Best of Best award out of the top 100 contributors of all time to the direct selling industry. And here's the detail about Jim that I think everything you need to know about this man. He mentored, coached Tony Robbins for the first 5 years of his business. The man who helped shape one of the most influential voices in the personal development world, Jim Britt. He's coming to the American Family Renaissance on September 14th. You certainly don't want to miss him or any of our wonderful speakers. So join us at the American Family Renaissance.org. You can go to the summit. You can sign up. It's free. We're releasing it September 14th. And I think you're going to enjoy it. And I got to say, I really want you there. This is a mission, a labor of love that we're putting on. This is a growing thing that I sincerely hope you will be a part of. And I sincerely hope you'll forward it on to a buddy or a friend to sign up for this summit as well. You won't regret it. Well, I want to thank you for being here this week. Always a thrill for me to talk about the power of asking for help. So make that your goal this week. Don't go it alone. Go out and ask for help. Thank you for listening. God bless you. And go out and make this your very, very best day ever.